So basically, you see the format, how it is getting stored, right? So basically, it is storing the pages. The collection of pages are getting stored in the index-based notation, one is. And the other one is a page group, which is using the subscript as a string notation. So here, the index which is passed inside a page group, it is a subscript, whereas this is going to have a list. So whenever you need to point to a particular record, okay, if you want to refer a particular group, a particular record, straight away you can use the subscript if you know the subscript. Okay, so this basically a key which is going to indicate which particular page I need to use it. So that key is something which may generate certain dynamically, and that key specific, that if you know the key, if you're aware of key, then it is easy to find it out of this group, which is easiest one. So it will straight away go to that particular page group. Okay, so it is going to, out of this collection, it is easy to find it out which, if you know the key, it is easy to find it out which particular page I need to go with. Okay, so if you are aware of this key, okay, if you consider this as a key, and then in that scenario it is easy to find it out. All right, so in that scenario, if something where you are maintaining a list where you are aware of those keys, okay, so the subscript that you are sending, so that is something which will denote the unique ID, and you might have stored somewhere that key to identify. So in such scenarios, you will go for the page group. Okay. So this, out of these two, the easiest one is definitely the page list. Okay. So in this particular scenario, if you see, obviously, when you are entering the addresses, multiple addresses that you are adding it, so something, if you are giving this option of getting the input taken, so this is something confusing for the end users. It doesn't require to provide an input to store an address. So what does this input stands for? Okay, so this is something complex. So basically, wherever you write down that logics in the background, in only in those scenarios you will use the page group. Whereas the particular scenario where you need to take multiple addresses as an input, you always go with the page list. You doesn't use the page groups in general for the front end purpose. So wherever you are capturing something in the front end, so you're not utilizing the page group, because that is confusing for the users to provide the key. Okay, so you are not you cannot pass the key in front. You're not telling to the end user that you are a developer, or else there is a background structure which is dependent on this key. Okay, so something which doesn't confuse us the end users. Okay, so in general, page group properties are used for a backend purpose, to maintain the information, the collection of information for the backend purpose. For the front end, which you take as an input, so for those scenarios, we always go for a page list. Okay, so that page list inputs, you will have the record of information, multiple records of information. You will keep on incrementing one after another. Okay, so no need of explicitly you need to take care of when you are deleting it, whatever the which particular record will be deleted. So by default, the index which is matching, that can be deleted. Okay, so it is easy to iterate on each and every object when you are going for a page list. So you will go for a page list of items to iterate one after another, and it will read from the index 1. Okay, and if you repeat the iteration, okay, so if you are repeating the iteration, the each and every iteration is an index. Okay, and that index will always starts from 1. It's not starting from 0 as like other programming languages. It starts always from 1. Okay, so this index keeps incrementing, and that is the reason it supports the sorting as well, whereas the page groups doesn't support the sorting feature. Okay, so whenever you are using the page group, it doesn't support the sorting. Okay, so you need to think whether you require the sorting or not. If it doesn't require the sorting, because that is not supportable for the page groups, so anything which is visible to the end users, so for those kind of scenarios, you will by default go for a page list. Anything which is going to store in the background, which helps us to easy for navigation or easy to search, for those things you will go for a page groups. Okay, so majorly I can say this is meant for the coding and development purpose. For development specific rules that you are creating, which is maintained in the backend but not in the forehand. Okay, so that is something you can use for the page groups and anything which is visible to the end user. Most of the scenarios I'm seeing. Okay, so scenarios where you can easily take the inputs. Okay, so take the inputs from the users. Okay, and you are going to do the sorting. So this is also supported in the page list. So in such scenarios you will go for the page list. All right, easy for iteration as well. Okay, this is easy for iteration, whereas this requires, whenever you are doing the iteration on this page group, it is going to see for the index which is a subscript, and you doesn't know what is the subscript. That's a key. Okay, so and the key is always unique, and that is something you are not aware of. Okay, so if I want to see something on this list, I will iterate one after another. Even I can iterate over here, but the subscript is something unique. Okay, so this is something called as subscript. Okay, the under the parenthesis, whatever you see, it is a string for the page group, and that string is always a unique. Okay, so that is something, a string which is called as a subscript. We call it as a subscript. Okay, whereas in the list we call it as a subscript is a index which is a integer. All right, so integers, so it is going to keep on incrementing for the iterations as well. All right, I hope it is clear between these two.
Yeah.
Yep, that's all clear.
Okay, now moving on. So yesterday we were discussing about the page group, how it stores. So in this scenario, let me see the configuration once again. So as I have mentioned here, this page group doesn't support the sorting. Okay, so that is the reason I have taken this sorting option from here, because that is doesn't support for the page groups. Let's make this as rows always editable. And as and when you click on this add item, it should add a new item by taking the input, which is a key. All right, and let's submit it once again and save it. Okay, some issue I think, but ideally it should display this page group here. It is getting added here. Okay, you can see here the work office add HH. You can see this is where how it is getting saved. Okay, but somehow the section is not getting refreshed. So this is not getting refreshed. Let me see after continue and come back again. Okay, we do one thing. I'm going to add a small action button here, and I'm going to refresh it explicitly. Let's see this option will work out. So I'm going to add a new button which is named as a refresh. This button name is okay. So here you can specify the text what you want to appear on the button name, and on the action I can specify the action set as on click I want to refresh this particular section. Okay, so I'm just doing this explicitly, adding the refresh this section to refresh this particular table. Okay, so just I want to see whether this is something blocking, and on click of add item key it should be refreshed. Ideally it's not refreshing, otherwise this refresh button should also come over here. Coming back again. All right, so now I'm going to add key to submit, refresh. Okay, and doesn't want to waste the time. So if it is not happening, let's see later. Okay. Anyway, but the structure will be in this way. So in the clipboard, as I have shown you, as like we see the address list, which will comprises of the collections which are specified in the index-based notation. It will take the index as the key which you are specifying as a unique value. Okay, so there are other areas where we will see the page groups, how it gets stored. So we'll come back to that when we discuss on that area. Okay, but this is how it is going to store it. That is what you need to know. Okay, so whenever you are having a collection, and that collection of a page group will be using the subscript as a string notation. All right, now moving on to the other aspects. So here we can specify certain conditions based on certain things. Okay, so here you have an option for every control like visibility conditions. Okay, so conditionally you want to display, so that is something you can select always. Okay, so you have that option, the visibility always, or you want to make it based on some condition expression or condition when rule. Okay, so condition expression will tell us which condition to satisfy if to display this control expected salary. Okay, in order to display this expected salary, you need to select the currency name, let's assume. Okay, so here I can specify the currency name. Okay, so I'm specifying the currency name if it is not equal to empty. Okay, as and when the currency name is not equal to empty, then I want to display this particular thing. All right, so here this is something I'm writing some condition for this currency name. Okay, so whenever the currency name is selected, then only I need to display this particular text control. Okay, so expected salary control is something I'm specifying the currency name is not equal to empty. All right, so this way we can make this condition visibility. Okay, and similarly you have an option for making the disable condition as well. So conditionally you want to disable it, so based on some variable which you are conditionally checking. Okay, so here you can specify the way how you want to check. Okay, so currency name equal to, greater than, less than. Okay, so these are all the things that you can utilize for writing down a condition expression. Okay, so condition expression is writing down a logic of how to when to display this control based on the condition criteria which is matched. Okay, so I'm specifying whenever you are selecting the currency, then only you display this property, this control. Okay, so now let's see the currency name. Whenever I'm selecting, it should be by default the one which is select, right? So this is something whenever I do select a select, it should be blank in the background. Okay, it should not be the one which is select. Okay, so if you see here, as and when I do this select option here, so what happens on my clipboard, you can see here this is coming as select, right? This is not the right behavior. So it should not come select over here. It should be blank, right? So it should not come as long as you are selecting the currency. Okay. So if you see the clipboard, in the clipboard, what you can see, the PY work page will have this currency name as, let me refresh. It should be select, right? Select, refresh, refresh. Okay, I think because of the action that I have configured here. So if you remember, yesterday I have configured one action, right? In this flow action, I have this apply data transform where I'm initializing always. As and when it is refreshing, it is coming with this value. So I'm going to delete this particular data transform from here. I'm just saving it. Okay. Now I will just refresh it once again. And now, all right. So now as I have refreshed it now, and if I select something USD and then come back to select, so it should be coming as a value as select. So in this case ID, under the PY work page, so you can see the currency name is still AUD. It should be select actually. Okay. So it should be select actually because the currency name is something which I am not populating. All right. So let's see after continue, what will the value will be on the clipboard on PY work page. Right. So the currency name should be select. Okay. So as and when you are moving to the next screen, the values are automatically getting saved. Okay. So this value is getting saved. Ideally, the currency name should be blank. Okay. It should not be getting the value as select. Okay. It should be something blank, right? So that is something we have to define on the property, the currency name. Okay. So earlier we have defined the local list table type. Okay, but whenever you are seeing in the clipboard or in the database it should be blank, then you have to go for an option called prompt list. So prompt list will tell us two values. One is the standard value which is getting saved in the database, and the other one is a prompt value what you are seeing in front of the end user. Okay, so let's say for the end user I'm going to display the select option, but ideally it will be blank in the background. Okay, so this way I can populate it. Okay, so here let's say I'm going to use the INR, the standard value, and the prompt is also the same, USD and USD. So in this way, if I define it, what happens is it is going to display the select. Whenever you are selecting the value, it will display the empty in the background. All right, now let's see the back, go back again. All right, and now I select AUD, you can get it. And as and when I select, so you can see the value is getting disappeared because we have included the condition expression on this screen, on this section, where the expected salary should not visible if the value is empty, the currency name is empty. Okay, so this conditionally it is calling, and this condition, if it is true, it is disappearing. Okay, so that is how the system can check the conditions on the controls. Similarly, you can add the condition on the complete layout as well. Okay, so something like you have certain dependencies with this layout to display. Okay, so complete layout should not be displayed, let's assume. Okay, so if I can keep a condition visibility on the complete layout itself. Okay, so if I keep the same condition whatever I have defined for the expected salary. Okay, so I can add this, let's say currency name is not equal to empty. So the same condition which I have used for that control. So I'm just making it not visible. Okay, so not equal to empty. I'm just giving double quotes here. Just this is a simple expression where whenever it is not empty, then I'm going to display the, not going to display this particular layout. Okay, so on a layout you can include a condition. All right, So what happens as in when I do a select, so you can see this complete section with the complete layout, which you see the last name, address, and postal code disappeared. Okay, so this disappeared as and when you select this one. Okay, so that is something you can add a conditions applicable directly on the layout as well. All right, and wherever you want to make it as the field as required, you have this option called required. Okay, so you can make this required conditionally as well. You can have an option to make it conditionally as well. Okay, so this is something, if you make it as required always, you will see there is an asterisk symbol on the label. Okay, so date of birth followed by an asterisk. So this asterisk is a mandatory field. So you can see for these two are marked as mandatory. Okay, so this is going to display the client side validation. Okay, so that means client side validation in the sense, if you doesn't enter anything for this one, if you doesn't enter anything by default, as in when you come to the next screen, it is going to display that error, something like this, value cannot be blank. Okay, so as and when you come out of that control, it will display the error immediately. Okay, so this value is blank, so this is something a client side validation. Okay, so without clicking the continue option, whenever the errors are displayed, so those are called as client side validation. Okay, that means it is not going, the request is not going to the server and then the errors are not displayed. It is immediately getting, the errors are immediately displayed. So let's say if I'm removing the test, immediately you are getting this error. Okay, if you are clicking on the continue and then you are getting the error on the screen, then that is called as a server side validation. Okay, so the one which you see, these are client side validations, which is marked as mandatory to enter, so those are not filled. All right, so this is a client side validation which you can keep it on the controls. So that way you have this option available whenever you are keeping a condition expression, when to trigger it. So if you select this option, run visibility condition on client, if you select this option, it is going to display that particular condition immediately. Okay, so this is something running on the client itself. Okay, so if you uncheck it, by default it will look for as and when you click on submit. Okay, so it will execute it you based on the refresh conditions. Okay, so here if I remove this particular thing, okay, so I need to explicitly refresh it. Okay, so if this refresh is not available, it is not going to work. All right, so if I remove this way, okay, and now if I see by clicking on a refresh for this, all right, now if I select this particular select option, so you can see this is still there. Okay, the value is still there because I have not checked this condition. Okay, so it is not running on the client, it is not running directly on the client. If I select this option, what happens, it will register by whenever this condition expression is there, it will automatically give me, even if I doesn't keep a refresh on it. So what happens, it will give me that explicitly. Okay, so as and when I do this AUD, it is coming right, and if I go for select, it is immediately not updating it. Okay, so you can see this is immediately displaying me or hiding it because I have selected that option. Remained the same value. Okay, it still remained the select value itself. Okay, so it is getting posted to the clipboard by using the action event. Okay, so something. Okay, so if you want to post this value to the clipboard, as in when you select it, you want to post the value to the clipboard. Okay, that means you are going to save that value into the clipboard. So it is the one, this is the action that you need to use it. Now submit and save it. So you can see the action which is performed is now post value. Now you can see the value gets posted. Okay, so now if you select USD, it gets posted to the clipboard. Okay, it gets posted only to the clipboard, not refreshing it. Okay, so you can see this refresh is not automatically happening. Okay, so this refresh is something dependent. This is something we have to explicitly add that refresh. Okay, so this is not refreshing automatically. All right, so this is something posted to the clipboard. You can see on the clipboard by going to the PY work page, you can see the value should be coming as USD. Ideally, it should come with this USD value. On change, or is it on select? On change, post value, right? So this post value should post the value to the clipboard. Ideally, it should post the value to the clipboard. That is the behavior of the post value. Okay, so once you have selected or you are changing the event, it should post the value immediately. In this case, it is not posting it immediately. Let's continue and see. No, now it is posted. Somehow this is not refreshing properly, but yeah, it should be posting the value here immediately. Okay, so as and when you change it, it should post the value. That is the behavior expected. Okay, so as and when you are changing this value, you need to refresh it immediately. Okay, so the other way that you can use is, so here on this particular control, okay, so on this particular control, you have something called as okay, this option. Okay, so anyway, like run visibility condition on client already had explained, right? Okay, fine. So yeah, on the dynamic layout, you have to explicitly, let's say if you are changing it and you have something defined as a condition expression on the layout, okay, and here you have this option run visibility condition on the client. So that is the reason, as in when you are selecting the select value here, this is disappearing. Okay, so straight away it gets disappeared. Okay, so because this run visibility condition on client is available, so right now if I uncheck this option, submit it and save it, so what happens, it doesn't work as expected. Okay, so if you see AOD, so you see explicitly we need to refresh it. Okay, now if I go back to select, it is not disappearing from here. Okay, so it's not disappearing because the run visibility condition on the client is removed. Okay, so explicitly the refresh should happen, then only it will work. Okay, if you refresh the whole section, then it will remove that, it is going to check that particular condition. Or else there is one more option available on the dynamic layouts, is something like refresh condition. So you can specify when to refresh. Okay, so you can specify the value, something like currency name changes. So as and when the currency name changes, you need to refresh this particular layout. Okay, so I'm explicitly saying currency name changes. So as and when the currency name changes, it should refresh the layout. Okay, so this complete layout will be refreshed as and when the currency name gets changed. Okay, so let's see how it works. Refresh. So now let's select one of this AUD. Okay, this is fine. INR, it is fine. This should be select. Client side scripting is not enabled or what? Really, this browser settings are updated somewhere. Okay, so here I'm saying like currency name changes, refresh this layout, and here I am specifying currency name not equal to empty. All right, so currency name not equal to empty. Ideally, it is not posting to the clipboard. If it is posting to the clipboard properly, then it won't come this way. Okay, so since there's a problem with posting to the clipboard, the value is not getting posted immediately. So because of that, so here you can see the currency name is AUD. All right, select. This refresh is not happening properly. Ideally this should come. Okay, so basically the layout has this additional option like a refresh condition, so where whenever the currency name which is selected, right, so as and when it gets changes, so it will call this particular condition and it is going to display the controls which are placed inside this layout. Okay, so that condition, if it is satisfying, it is going to display for the end users. Okay, so in this scenario, you can use this refresh option to refresh the whole section. Okay, so you can use this refresh after posting the value as well. Okay, so this is something you are explicitly telling to the system to refresh as and when you are updating the value or changing the value. All right, so here I'm going to select, it is going to refresh. All right. All right, so this is how we are designing it now. Is it clear so far? I'm just telling all the options that can be possible in Pega in terms of doing certain actions, okay, based on some visibility conditions, how to display it and how you want to disable it. Okay, so all of these are dependent on variables. Okay, and wherever you are writing the expressions, ensure you are using a property and that property is should be represented with a dot notation. So all the properties, all the variables you need to specify with a dot notation. Okay, so you can use this properties open condition builder options to write down those conditions. Okay, so when to refresh, so here you are specifying the property name and as and when it changes you can use that way. Okay, so you can specify the when to refresh the conditions. Okay, so this way you can even specify certain other conditions like not equal to empty, then only or else if it is equal to empty, then only you need to refresh it. Okay, so that way you can write it the condition how you want to. All right, and you can use the client validations where you can specify the required options for the control. Okay, and the presentation options for every control will change. Okay, so based on that presentation options, it is going to display how you want to display. Okay, so the presentation options will change how you want to display it, and you also have the options of making it left or right or center. Okay, so you can use certain options like if you are whatever the text that you are entering, it should be coming on the left side or it should be coming on the right side. So according to that, it is going to display for the end users. Okay, and you can also have an options of minimum number of characters and max number of characters that you want to restrict it. Okay, so at least minimum number of characters that should be there for the email. Let's say if I give it as a 5 is a minimum characters and max as 10 characters, so it should be in between 5 to 10. Okay, so not beyond 10 and not less than 5. Okay, so that is how it is going to work. All right, and the control formats, it is something like how you want to display that control which you are displaying. Okay, so you can use the different options available. All right, so let's say have used something like a supporting text, or I can use something like a primary search. So the search window could be smaller. Okay, so it may not be that big. So here it is going to display the format of search. Okay, so search is something like this. You can see here, this is how it is. So it's a grayed out client kind of. All right, any questions you have?
No, everything clear.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, please be on mute then. So the different control formats that we have it, so based on that, the look and feel will change. Okay, so the control formats will give us certain, there are already some predefined control formats available so that we can utilize those formats which is easy, I mean, which will be giving certain behavior of the format, how it should work. Okay, so there are different type of formats appearing here. So according to that, you can use it. All right, so something like heading, if I want to display the heading over here. Okay, as for now, this one I'm making it as standard. right. Let's say in the initial screen form, I want to display the heading for this. Okay, I want to display this is the basic information or demographic details. So you can specify on the layout the header option. So you can select this option called display header and title, and the title what you want to display. So it's a basic details or basic information. So this is something becomes a title for this information that we are entering. Okay, so you have different heading formats as like you see in the Word document. Okay, if you want to make it as a bigger, you can go for heading 1. If you want to make it as smaller, you can go for heading 6. Okay, so you can try with some other headings. Okay, so you have different header type options. If you want to make it as collapsible or bar or field set, you can try all these options. Okay, so based on the type that you choose, it is going to display the header according to that. Okay, so this is something you can set how you want to display the header. Okay, so here similarly I can keep a header on the table layout as well. So on the table layout you can see the properties appearing to display the header. Okay, so in this there is a presentation option where you can specify the display container header and title on the presentation, and here you can specify the title as address, capture address. Okay, so this way we can specify the address and you can have an option of making the heading according to that. Okay, so initially the above one I have used heading 3, I can use heading 4 so that it will be a bit smaller compared to this. Okay, so in this way we can add the different options available in the presentation. I can make the container format as well so that it will appear in a white color background for the below one. Okay, so all of these three are in sync. All right, so accordingly, so how you want to make the users to display the form that you are filling, so that is something up to you. According to that, you are going to use the layout formats, container formats, and the other presentation options that are available. All right, any questions?
No, all good.
No. Yep.
All right, moving on to let's go for another scenario, the sections itself. Upload resume we already discussed to capture the resume. Okay, so now I will go back to the adding one more assignment that is left in this create form underscore default. Okay, so I'm just removing this one, just adding only these 3 assignments. So we can add however the connection is done this, right? So it is not going to reach this particular sub process. Okay, so there's no connection between these two. Okay, so this is something not reachable. This code is not reachable. Okay, so even if it is there in the system, this will still allow, but it is not going to come to the screen anytime. All right, now we are in this review action. So we need to define this review action. So I'm going to create a new flow action called review. Okay, in this class recruitment, and the same rule set which is coming as default. Okay, and I'm going to create a new section called a review section. And if I open this, I'm going to create this review section in the same class and save it. Okay, and now I'm going to go back to the convert to the full section editor. I'm not focusing much on these templates because this is very straightforward. Okay, so you can easily do this. Okay, so this is something straightforward, and it's just adding the fields in the straight away. Okay, but it's always better to go with the older one because that is something a bit difficult to understand, and then you have a complete control on what are the configurations that you need to do it. Okay, so even you can do over here as well, but this is something straightforward where you can use via properties and all, you can update it. Okay, but it's always good to know the older version because we have full length options available in the full section editor and the background rules which you can use it. Okay, so you have a complete control, or if you go back to the section editor. Okay, so this screen that you see is called as a section editor, and the previous screen that you call is as a design template. You can go anytime to the design template as well. All right, Now, in this one, I want to display whatever the input which is taken in the first screen as well as the second screen. First of all, let's save it wherever we are calling this section. Go back and update the section called in the flow action. Update this, and this flow action is called in this flow. So update this as well. All right. So this way we are updating all the referencing rules. So the rule which is expected for this is a flow action, and inside a flow action, I'm going to call a section, and the section is created for you. All right. Now this is a blank section, empty section. Now I need to display the inputs which are taken in the first screen and the next screen. I want to display. This is a review screen. It's a read-only view screen. Okay. So we need to display the inputs which are taken in the first two screens. Okay, so for this I can use something called as layout group, which will group the layouts which are available. Okay, so there are multiple ways that you can display for the end user for the read only screens to design it. So for that you have to use this layout group so that you can use it to review the screens whatever we have in the first two assignments. Okay, so here we have certain options like you have accordion, menu, stack, tab, other options. I will go for the tab for easy understanding. So basically I can use two tabs, one which is going to give you the review of the basic information. The second tab will display the resume related details. Okay, so now I'm going to have this layout group dragged and dropped. Okay, so I just drag and drop this layout group, which is using the option as tab. Okay, so the display option which is used is tab. Okay, so we can even see the other option how it will appears. Okay, now that I have dropped a layout group, inside this layout group what I can do is I can drop any number of dynamic layouts, repeating layouts, column layouts, or sections. So you can see all of these appears under the structural category. You can drop the sections, or you can use the repeating dynamic layout, or you can use the dynamic layout or column layout. Okay, so you can use these options. So let's go for a section which is already available with me. So the sections that you see, we have create section, upload, resume section. So these two sections are already available with me, which I can reuse it again. Okay, now I'm going to reuse the same section which is already used in the first assignment. Okay, so whenever I use the drag and drop, okay, so drag it and drop it into this layout, okay, into this layout group. Okay, it will come with a pop-up screen where you need to specify in which page this information is available, which I am going to display to the end user. Okay, so I'm straight away using this same section in which class the sections are available. Okay, so I'm creating this section, review section, in the same class where this create section is also available. So for that reason, I can go with this option called use current page context. Okay, so if you are using some other section which is in some other class, then you need to change this particular option from this drop down. Okay, so if you have some other class where the sections are available right now, the section which I'm going to call inside this, it is also there in the same class where this section review is there. Okay, so that is the reason I'm not changing anything. I'm just going with the use current page context. Okay, I will tell the other options as well. So for now, use the current page context where the section is available. So the section which I'm using here, this will appear automatically because I'm using the same page where this recruitment class is available. Okay, so I'm using this create option here. So the create section which is in the same class, I'm just using the same. All right, so this way it is coming the details which are already appearing. Okay, so those details I am displaying. Now the tab, it is going to display something like this. So you can see this is a tab, right? So the same view I am going to apply. So in the first tab, it is going to display this basic details. Okay, so I'm going to name this tab as, you can see once you select this view properties, once you drop it, the section, you can see the view properties for this section. And here going down, you have something called as container settings. Okay, so it is wrapping up the tab name. Okay, so whatever you see, this is the name of the tab, right? So this tab will appear. Okay, so this tab should appear, and that tab name is something what you mentioned here. I can specify something like general details. Okay, so if I specify general details, so it is going to display the general details as my tab name. Okay, and below this I want to display the resume details. Okay, so for that I can take one more section, embedded. So I'm just going to drop it wherever it is expected to. Okay, so I want to display the second tab as the resume. Okay, so resume related details, I'm going to add it as a separate tab, and that tab I need to drop it when it is showing me this orange color border. Okay, so it is showing me the highlighting portion where it has to be dropped. Okay, so you need to drop it inside that layout group. Okay, so whenever I'm trying to do this layout group drop, so you see this is getting orange color, right? So where exactly I need to place it, so you need to be very careful where you are dropping this particular section. Okay, if I drop somewhere in between here, it won't work out. Okay, so wherever you want to place this particular tab, if I keep it here, what happens, this particular tab will come front and the general details will come as a second tab. Okay, so that way you, where you want to keep that section or where you want to display that tab, so that is something you need to drop it. Okay, so here this is the resume details. So I'm just specifying the section name, sorry, the section name as upload resume. Okay, so upload resume section, which is also available the same class using the same current page context, submitted. Okay, so this tab should be given a separate tab name. So for that I'm selecting this and going to the container settings where I'm specifying the resume details. Okay, so in this way you can add the multiple tabs how you want, whatever the things that you have to display. Okay, so this way I'm going to save it. All right, so you can even use a dynamic layout as well. Okay, so you have the option, not only the sections, you can even use the layout as well. Let's say for tomorrow, for the future purpose, I may use it one more dynamic layout which may display certain experience details. Okay, so I'm specifying something like experience details. So here I'm specifying the title for this third layout which I'm going to add. This is the experience details. Okay, so this is my third tab which doesn't have any information. So right now we are just placing as a placeholder to display the experience details inside. Okay, so altogether the experience details I'm moving into a new section, into a new layout. Okay, so this way I can add number of layouts as well as sections inside a layout group. So all of these you see under this layout group tab only, I'm keeping all these sections. Okay, so this is section 1, this is section 2, this is a layout. Okay, so you can drop the sections or layouts. Okay, but it should be inside a layout group, then only it is grouping the multiple sections. Okay, now let's see the output, how it appears. So now you are continuing this. Okay, let's take the resume headline testing and attach content. Okay, attach, continue. So you should able to see these details like general details, resume details, and the experience details. So in this way, we are displaying three tabs. Okay, so under the review, we are displaying three tabs. So general details, resume details, and experience detail. So all these three tabs, we have designed this screen, review screen, where we are adding these three tabs. Okay, so this layout group is responsible to display the information in a groups. Okay, so it is grouping the information in three tabs. Whereas if you go for some other format, instead of tab format, you want to make it as accordion or menu or stack, you can use any of the other options and you can see the way it displays in a different way. You can now come back and see continue. You can see this is how it is displaying. General details is in one accordion. Okay, and then the resume details in second accordion, experience details in the third accordion. Okay, so this way we can see the details are populated. Okay, now you see the review screen, you doesn't want to make this as editable. Okay, you doesn't want to make it as editing here. It should be in a read only. Okay, so are we going to create one more section for this? Not required. So you can use the same section which you are using for this. So you can make the fields as read only. All the fields which are available in this section, I can make it as read only. Okay, so just go back to the screen, review screen, where the section is getting called. So here you can select that particular section which you want to make all the fields inside that section to be read only. So you can go to that section, open that section properties, and under the presentation you have something called as edit options. Okay, so on these edit options can make it as read only always, so that the information which is available in this section all gets read only. Okay, so all of them are marked in the read only. Okay, so similarly you can make this also read only always. Okay, so we are not updating the section. Wherever we are using this section, in that place only we are updating it. Okay, so you can make this also read only under this presentation, not here. Okay, so for the dynamic layout, it doesn't have that option. Only for the sections we have it. Okay, so the content inside the dynamic layout, you can place one more section inside it. Okay, so then you can make it as a read only. Okay, so straight away the section, if you drag and drop a section, you can make that fields, all the fields as a read only by selecting that option. Okay, now come back and see. So you can see all these details are giving in the read only mode. All right, so this way we can write down the, you can design the sections. All right, any questions here?
No.
All right. Okay, so in this way you have other options that you can explore more. Okay, so something like signature capture. Okay, so this is something like it is going to capture the signature. Okay, so which may require certain you can try in the create screen. Okay, so data capture, signature capture. Okay, so you can name the signature here. So it is also a text where it is going to take the value, save it. Okay, so basically the signature will represent something like a file. Okay, and that file is something, it will be encrypted. Okay, the signature will be encrypted in that file. Okay, so something like you have a signature captured in one of the PNG format. So that is something you can upload it. Okay, so that will be taken as a one of the file which is captured as a part of a string rule. Okay, so that those kind of options are available in Pega. So that options is something like very rarely used, but those are also available. All right, so something like URL, you want to enter the URL, you can utilize the URL formats. Okay, so you can ask the end users to enter the URL, and that you can capture in one of the property. Okay, so this controls, you have separate presentation options that you can see the presentation options how you want to display, something like www.google.com. So that is something we can capture the website name. Okay, so such kind of details you can capture as part of URL. Okay, and in the pickers you can use something like a radio buttons which will capture something like gender. Okay, so you always have an option to make it as male or female, so where you can capture a property of gender, create and open, and you can specify this as a boolean value. true or false, and you can make this no, let's take it as text input only, so that we can use the table type values to display prompt list, and this is for male and F for female. Okay, so this way we can define the, okay, these two are fine. Since it is a radio button, you have only two options, either male or female. Okay, so this way we can use the gender, and you can specify the list source for the drop downs or any of the pickers. Okay, so if you see the pickers, all of these pickers will expect a source. Okay, because it is something you are selecting a value. Okay, so as and when you are selecting it, so it should be multiple options. Okay, so out of those multiple options, which option needs to be selected, so that is something you need to define as a source, and that source is something you have to define somewhere. Okay, as of now, all the options which I have used is coming from the property. Okay, and that property is something which is defined on the table type. Okay, it is dependent on this table type values. All right, this is one way of passing the inputs. Okay, so the one way of passing the inputs of gender, okay, the male female options are coming from the property. Okay, and that property is the one which you are using over here. All right, and under the actions you can see the other options like button, link, menu, attach, and content. Okay, so you can use any of these options. So if you see the menu option, so menu option is something like this. If you want to display the options in this format, or whatever you see on the left hand side, so these are the menus. Okay, so this menu is something, the control, which is this one. Okay, so let's say if I have to add a menu. Okay, and this is basically expecting our more rule called navigation rule. Okay, so this navigation rule will tell me the list of options that I have to display on the left hand side. Okay, so in general, the navigation options that you see, it appears on the, in this way. Okay, so here you can see these are the navigation options. So on click of create, you are getting the recruitment. Okay, similarly you are getting the options like home, dashboard, spaces, report. So this is a navigation menu. Okay, so you can see the existing sections, how it is designed. Okay, so you can understand how this is defined. Okay, so this is basically a navigation rule, and this navigation rule is called in this section. Okay, so you can always select this live UI. Okay, so this is called as live UI debugging tool for inspecting the UI elements. Okay, so if I want to understand this particular navigation options which are displaying here, how it is designed, so I can just select it and I can click on this double circle. Okay, so that it opens this particular rule in the dev studio. This is my dev studio. Okay, so it opens as and when you click on this double circle, just click on it. Okay, it should open in this way. Okay, so this is basically a template based. So in order to ease of understanding, you can make it as full section editor so that you can navigate, you can see the options appears. So here this is a navigation menu, and in this menu you can see this is responsible to display the recruitment cases. Okay, the second one is something which we are focused on. So main navigation, let's see, open this. So this navigation, this is how the navigation rule is. Okay, the options that are coming, this is dynamic navigation. So this is basically referencing a property. Okay, so the list of navigations which are coming, so there is basically another navigation rule can also be called from one navigation rule. So here there could be something like inside a navigation you have one more navigation appearing. Okay, so something like this. Inside this, if you click on one more time, you may get one more child item. Okay, so it's a kind of a tree structure format. Okay, so that is something like a navigation inside a navigation. Okay, so that is something you can see this py dynamic navigation which is coming here. So this is something like create, on click of create, you are getting one more dynamically the cases which are available. Okay, so such kind of screens are something like you can define via two navigations. Let's go to the below one, below navigation menu. So here this is a fixed navigation. So you can see here the notifications recents my applications. Okay, so the one which you see at the bottom, notifications recents my applications. So all of these are again the navigation options which are appearing. So what has to happen? So that is something you need to define the type of actions. Okay, so here whenever you define a navigation, so it should appear that option first of all. Okay, and after that you need to define, if I click on this, what should happen? So if I click on this notification, something should happen, right? So that is something we need to define on click of this particular notification, what should happen. So that is something we have to define under these actions. So just double click on this navigation option so that you will get a pop-up window, and here you are going to define on click of this navigation option what should be the action that you need to perform. So here you can see certain logics that we will call it by using the activity rule, and post that we are refreshing the section. Okay, so we have something like refresh other action, refresh other section. So which section you want to refresh it, we are explicitly specifying the other section name by specifying the class name and then the rule name. Okay, so here I'm specifying the class which I need to refresh. Okay, so if it is a straight away the same section, I can use this refresh the section, the same section it will refresh. Okay, whereas if I want to explicitly do a section which is some other section, I need to go for other section and I need to specify the class and the section name. You're getting me? So this is something like you are specifying the different actions what you need to do it. Okay, so these are the actions which are executed on click of this particular option. Okay, so you have the option to call the script. Okay, so this is something like a JavaScript that you want to call it. Okay, so you can call the JavaScript by using the run script option. So these are the actions which are available. So on click action events that I have shown you, so all these are the same actions. Okay, so these are actions which are available whenever there's a event occurs. So what all the actions that has to be performed, we can see them under the add an action. Okay, so you can use this options. So what you need to do as part of on click of this particular event, so that is something you will define under the actions tab. And on the general tab you have the options to display the label here. And if you see here, this in addition to the label, you are getting some icon, some image displayed here, right? So where does this image comes from? So there is an image which can be coming with respect to a class, and this class is also coming from one of the cascading style sheets. Okay, doesn't want to confuse more in this area, so I'm just going for the simple image. So where you can upload one image and you can use that image to display as well. Okay, so image also you have an option to change which image you want to display. So here you can select the images which you uploaded. Okay, so you also have an option to create one image and upload that image and use that image in the application. Okay, so something like if you want to display the notifications, you can see some images which are already available. So you can see this is one of the image which is available. So I can select this particular image. So what happens, that image which I have selected, that will come over here. Okay, so that way we can specify the image in addition to the text which is appearing on the navigation option. Okay, so in this way you can specify the general options. So so the general, the label what you want to display, and the image if you want to add it. If it doesn't add also, there's no issue, it doesn't come, that image doesn't come over here. All right, so this way we can define the navigation options which you want to add it. Okay, so you can add the different navigation options. Okay, so for ease of creation, let's go and create one simple navigation here. So let's take the actions navigation, and here I'm going to create one navigation. Okay, now you can add the navigation options, like you can add above or add below. Okay, and you can select the item that you want to display. So let's say this is action 1. Okay, and here on click of this, what has to happen, I can just specify the according to that. Okay, so this is something I can use the different actions. So as of now, I'm just adding 2 actions. One is action 1 and the other one also action 2. Okay, so this way I can add the label, and if I want, I can add the image as well. Simple image, which is, let's see if there's anything like action image. So already the system has certain images which I am using it. I can also upload certain new images which if I want to. Okay, so I'm just adding a new image, and I'm not configuring anything on the click event. Let's say save it, and this is a simple navigation rule created. And now you can, if in case on click of action you want to add one more child node, you can use this selected, and you can just click on add child node. Okay, then what happens, a child node appears on this. Okay, so under this action 1.1. okay, that means I'm going to click on the action 1. It has one more sub action. Okay, so that is named as this action 1.1, and I can include one other image for this. It is not mandatory, just for our understanding notification. Let's say I'm just using this. Okay, and let's save it. Something is gone wrong here. Action 1.1. All right. Okay. Save this. Invalid page property reference. Where exactly selecting this will delay the fetch until item is clicked on or on hover data is fetched. Let's say refresh on display. Okay. It was expecting something like invalid property reference somewhere. Let's refresh it so that it will be just a simple item. I'm not performing any actions here. Page name. Let's take this reference. Now let's take this item list, or else I can use the referencing dynamic navigation rule. Another navigation rule I'm going to use it, which is already available. Okay, and selecting OK, saving this. Not valid. Where is that? Try this one first of all. Okay, so let's save it where exactly this navigation rule is added, and submit. Okay, I think. All right, let's save it. Okay, and now I go to this create screen and clicking on the recruitment case. All right, and if I select this AUD, so here we have included this navigation options. So you can see action 1 and action 2 is appearing. Of course, it is not displaying the icon for the above one. Action 2 has the icon. Okay, so image is there for action 2. Action 1 is one navigation option. Action 2 is another one. Okay, so this way on click of it, if you add some action, it will perform that action as well. Okay, so these are the navigation options that are available. Okay, so we can use the navigation options. Okay, and this navigation options which you include over here. So this is something, it will display the list of action items which we are deferred, which are specified under the navigation. Okay, and there's an option called defer load submenu where it will add the sub options as well. If you want to display the sub options, then you can use this. Since I have not used that option, that is the reason it displayed me the child nodes. So now I can add a child node and I can specify the other reference of another dynamic navigation rule. Okay. Now it is allowed me to do this, and let's take the image for this also so that it will show a bit. Okay, just selecting some icon. Okay. Okay, and just refreshing this whole section. All right, so you can see here I'm getting two actions, and you can see the other actions which are appearing, which are coming from the other dynamic navigation. Okay, so other navigation rule, whatever the actions which are defined in that, so those are also appearing over here. All right, so this way it is the different actions that you can use it. So here you can see it is trying to navigate to that particular screen, edit details screen. Okay, so that way it can switch to that particular action what is defined on that navigation rule. All right, so you can see let's say I'm going to withdraw here itself. I think this is not created yet, so it's not allowing me to delete it, and I cannot change the stage as well. Okay, it is allowing me to move to the next stage. Let's submit this. So it is jumping to the next stage, which is interview process stage. Okay, so from the initiation stage, I'm jumping to the interview process stage. So this way I can perform certain actions. Okay, so those actions will derive how I can navigate from here to some other place. Okay, so this way we can, it helps us for the users, whenever they are working on that screen, they can navigate from one screen to another screen. All right, so I hope this is clear, the navigation options that you can use it based on your requirement. All right. All right, so drop downs, check boxes, and auto complete. Okay, let's see this multi-select list, which is in Pega 8 it is used. Okay, not in Pega 7. So this is not available in Pega 7. So basically you can use multiple selections. Okay, so multiple selections you can do by using this control. Okay, so if you have certain 3 to 4 options that you want to select it, so you can say something like currencies applicable. Okay, so you can specify what are the currencies that are applicable. So for this, okay, so for this you need a list. Okay, so that list I need to define it. Okay, so I need to define one of the list. So that list is something we need to create it. Okay, so it is applicable for only the list. Okay, so that you need to specify a page list because it is taking not one input, it is taking multiple inputs. Okay, so right now what you see is when we are capturing one input, this is a straightforward one drop down. Okay, a single value drop down. But whereas nowadays most of the applications that you see, a multi-select list is also there in the user forms. Okay, so where you can choose the preferences of the job preferences, let's say. Okay, so you have multiple options to select what are the preferences for your job. So where you can see the jobs that you want to apply for. Okay, so you can apply for the locations that are preferred like Hyderabad, Mumbai, Okay, so that way you have multiple selections options appears. Okay, so that multi-selection options that you can choose it, something like so you can just select multiple options, something like this. Okay, so you can see here, as and when you select the HTML, PHP, JavaScript, so you have multiple selections from this drop down list. So this is something you can utilize in our Pega as well. Okay, based on this multi-select list. Now, as and when you select it, you need to have a list of values. You need to capture it. Okay, so that list of values you need to capture. So that is a list which you are preparing it. Okay, so you are preparing one list. Whatever the values which you are selecting, all of those values you are going to capture it. Okay, so for this to create, I need to have a list source which you need to create first of all. Okay, so I need to display the list and one for the capturing purpose. Okay, so this is basically going to capture whatever I select, and this list is something what all the options that I need to display to the end user. So that is something I need to create first. You're getting me? So this list which you are seeing at the below, this is something I need to form a list. Okay, so this is the one. Let's say the JavaScript, CSS, jQuery. This is the list which you are seeing over here, the list source. So all the options which you want to display to the end user. This is the list which will capture the one which you are selecting. So like HTML and PHP. So these two are selected. So these are the ones which will be there in this list. So there are two lists which is expected. Okay, so one for display, one for capturing and saving the value. So let's go and create the simple list. Okay, so page list I'm going to create, and now click on create and open. So let's use something like a page list, and here I can use data dash let's say location is there. Let's take data dash address itself. Okay, I'm going to have one list which is going to be data dash address, where I can capture the locations. Okay, currency is applicable. I have given some wrong property name, but I can save as this to locations preferred. I'm specifying the name as locations preferred and clicking on create and open. So I'm going to delete this. Now coming back to this locations preferred, this is the page list. Okay, so that is something I can refer here, locations preferred. Okay, and now I need to have one more page list which will display the list of locations. Okay, so available job locations. So this is something I need to display as a source. I'm going to create one more page list, and this is also data dash address. Okay, save it. All right, now I do have two properties. One is available job locations and the other one is a preferred locations. Okay, out of these two, first of all, I need to initialize this available job locations. Okay, I need to define what all the values that I need to display to the user. Okay, so available job locations which I have created, going to submit it. So I can specify something like py work page dot. So I have to specify this property belongs to which page. Okay, so if you see on my clipboard, I'm referring this property which is already available in this py work page. Okay, so that is the reason I need to specify where exactly this particular page property is in. Okay, so first of all, I need to specify this py work page as well, and the value where I'm going to capture is, this is also py work page dot locations preferred. Submit this, let's cancel it. because I have defined the property now. Let's save it and refresh. Yeah, because I have created the property now. So let's again configure it. Dot locations preferred, and here this is a clipboard page. Locations preferred. First of all, I need to define this under the pages and classes. Okay, so basically, whatever the property that I'm going to use it to explain to the system from which class I'm going to use this property. So I need to define that under the pages and classes. So under the pages and classes, I need to define to the system that I'm going to use a page list which is available in a page which is specific to the class I need to specify. Okay, so if I'm going to use certain page which the system is not able to understand, so I need to specify this is the page. Okay, so thus in this page I'm going to have one page list property. Okay, so this is the independent page. So all these you see, these are the independent pages. So each and every independent page you need to define under the pages and classes to tell to the system that this page belongs to this class. Okay, so you need to specify page name and the class name as well to explain to the system that I am using a class, I'm using a page that belongs to this class which is available on the clipboard. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm going to define the page py work page, and which class it belongs to, that class I need to specify tcsl fw recruitment class. Okay, so this particular class I need to specify under the class. Okay, so in this way, whenever you are using a particular page which is independent page, then you need to specify under the pages and classes. Okay, so in this multi-select list control which I'm using it, it is something utilizing a page property, which page it belongs to. So that is something I need to specify under the pages and classes. All right, so now once I define this particular class, so you need to specify the class appropriately. So you can select it by clicking on the down arrow. If in case something mistakenly mistakenly you typed it, it will rectify it. Okay, so that way specify the class page first of all, and now I can specify the page which I want to use it. Okay, so I am going with this clipboard page because I do have a page created, so I'm just trying to use that page py work page dot available job locations. Okay, and in this validate page and page list. Okay, let's take the other source, data page. So now I'm going to have one data page rule. Okay, so for this data page rule, it is going to get me the list. Okay, so the data page is another rule which will get me one of the list as a input. Okay, so data page is nothing but a page, just like you are using a page. So the data page is also a page which will have either a list or a single page. Okay, either a page list or a single page. So it has having two options in the data page. It will return a value, a single page, or it can return a page list as well as an output of it. Okay, so here I can specify the data page created. Okay, so data page is a rule where it is going to get me a list. I'm going to create one data page rule, which is something like d underscore locations. So all the locations I'm going to get from this data page. Okay, so I can create a data page record. Okay, so it's also a record that I'm going to create it, and now I'm going to define this particular data page created in a class which is TCSL. I can keep it in either of these two. Okay, I'm going to use it for the future purpose as well. Okay, so that I'm going to create now in the work class straight away, not in the recruitment class. Okay, so this is something you can take a call where to create in this, in which class it has to be created. Now click on create and open. All right. Now in this data page, so this is basically two options are available in the data page. One is it can return me a single page or it can return me a list. Okay, so you can define the data page of type list in this particular scenario. Okay, so data page is going to give me a result which is of type list. Okay, so here this list I have to create it. Okay, so how I need to create it and the list belongs to which class. So those are the things I need to define in this data page rule. Okay, so this data page will get me a list and that list should be of type data dash address class. Okay, so the list of pages which I am going to return, it should be of type data dash address. Okay, I'm giving a list to the people who are using this data page. So in the format of class, when the collection of a list which belongs to this class, data dash address class. Okay, so this is something we have to define this data page before we are using it somewhere. Okay, so first of all, I'm creating a list, and in order to create a list, I'm utilizing a data page. Okay, so data page is something like independent page which is appearing over here. So you can see certain data pages are appearing over here, d underscore d underscore. Okay, so all of the pages which are specified with the name as d underscore, this is something, a syntax which is given for the data page. Okay, so whenever we are creating a data page, always remember the syntax of the data page is d underscore. Okay, so it's a temporary page which you can use it and it will exist independently as like this. Okay, so you have the options like make the data which is available in it, it can be the read only or it can be editable as well. Okay, you can make the data appearing for the end users and that data can be updated. This page can be edited. Okay, if you want to make this as read only, this page which you are giving to the end users, it will be only for the read only purpose. The results which are given to the end users, it is just to read the data which is coming from this data page. Okay, so this way I'm going to define the mode. Okay, so right now I'm going with the default one which is read only mode. Okay, we'll come back to the scope later. Now let's go for the data sources. So from where you have to display this information. So the data source which you have it, so you can get it from the various ways. Okay, so the data which is appearing in this list, it may be saved in some data table or else you can create that particular list. Okay, so you can create one list and you can send that particular list to the in the user form where you are taking the input. Okay, so for now let's go with the option called data transform. Okay, so we already discussed about the data transform. The one usage that I have mentioned is a set, so where I'm initializing it. Okay, now I'm going to form a list with the help of a data transform. Okay, so I'm going to form the build the locations. Okay, so build locations list. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to build a locations list. Okay, I'm creating one locations list. Okay, so for that I'm creating a data transform build locations list. And now that you see the list, I'm going to create it and I have specified the data transform name here. And as in when I click on this double circle, it is appearing me a window where it is creating this particular rule in some class called code Pega list. Okay, so this is a standard class. Whenever you are creating a list, okay, whenever you are building a list in the data page, it is having a standard pages and that standard page is code Pega list. When you are selecting the mode as list and you are creating one rule, this rule certainly should be available in the class called code Pega list. Okay, so it is basically the list of pages that you are creating, and whenever you have the list of pages created, you need to create that list appearing in the code Pega list. So this data transform should be created in the code Pega list class. Okay, so as of now, you just see as in when you click on this double circle, whatever the default values which are appearing, just go with that, click on create and open. All right, now you need to form the list. Okay, now what are the locations that you need to display to the end user? So that is something you need to set it. Okay, so I'm going to use the other actions. So in this actions, I'm going to use something like append to, append and map to. Okay, so I can use this action append and map to add a list. Okay, I'm going to form a list. So for this, what I'm using is append and map to, where I'm going to create one list. Okay, so here I can specify the list name. Okay, so as of now, I'm going to use the results which has to be populated on this page. Okay, so this is a page, d underscore locations is a page. This is a page that contains list of values, list of pages. Okay, so d underscore locations is a not a page, it's a list. It's a list. Okay, so data page which is of type list that contains a list of pages in it. Okay, now each and every page will be having certain value in it. Okay, so that is something like we need to store a value inside this. Now the list which I am going to form here is, so this should be of type list. Okay, so here I can specify something like dot px results. Okay, so whenever we are storing the list, okay, so in our page, if you want to create a list, you have to use a property called px results. Okay, so it is going to have a page with the property called px results. So just like py work page, you have it inside this. What you have dot addresses list, right? So in the similar way, this is d underscore locations is a page, and the locations is a page, and this px results is a property, the page list property. Okay, so the same structure, how you see the py work page has this list, the same way we are going to form a page, and inside that page you have the list of properties, and that list property is px results property. Okay, so Pega has certain default property list that we can use it over here. So I'm going to define this list where I will be using something like append and map to form each and every result. Okay, so I will be having multiple results inside this. So px results of 1, px results of 2, px results of 3. So in this way, I'm going to store all the results, all the locations inside it. So each and every result is a page, right? So each and every page will contain some properties. So I can create a property of, I can define a value to this property is equal to Hyderabad. Okay, so similarly, I can define a like location, py location as Mumbai or Pune. Okay, and similarly, I can specify this py location as Bangalore. So in this way, I'm going to create one list. So this is how I'm going to define a list. Okay, so in order to form this list, I'm going to use this px results, and here I'm going to specify the properties which it belongs to. Okay, so here I need to specify the name of the data page, d underscore locations dot px results. Okay, so d underscore locations is an independent page followed by the px results. Okay, so d underscore locations is an independent page that belongs to the list of results that I can define under the pages and classes. Okay, so this d underscore locations page list comprises of the records, the pages that belongs to the class data dash address. So this is something I have to explicitly define it, because this results which I'm storing in this page belongs to which class I need to tell to the system. Okay, so for that reason, I am defining this d underscore locations dot px results. Okay, so this is a generic property list. This is a generic property list. If you see px results property list, this is a generic one. So there is no class definition. It's a dollar class. That means dynamically you can define the class of this page list. Okay, so Pega has provided this as a placeholder, and you can define the class however you want from the pages under the pages and classes. So this pages and classes will take the class which you have defined it. So now you can see once you define over here and save it, you can use the properties which are available in the class data dash address. I hope you are understanding what I'm telling.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically what I'm doing is I'm creating one list. Okay, so in order to display that locations, I'm going to form one list, and for that I'm using a data page as a source, and in that data page I'm using the source which is coming from a data transform, and in that data transform I'm using the action called append and map to form this list. Okay, so I'm using this data page dot px results. Now you can see data dash address is appearing, the properties which are available in this data dash address class as appearing here. So now I'm defining this py country, something like this. Okay, so I'm going to define the states, or it should be city. Okay, either way it's fine. So I'm just defining what are the locations that has to be displayed by using the action append and map to. I can just copy here by right clicking on the step. So you can just paste below. Okay, so I'm just going to add another state which is, and I can add paste below, and let's take this as pen. Okay, and which I can add is all these cities. Okay, now save it. D underscore locations dot px results. D underscore locations dot px results. Okay, let me define the D underscore locations also. So D underscore location is also a page that belongs to the class code Pega list. By default, if you are specifying the list inside a data page, if you're defining the list structure in the data page, it belongs to the code Pega list. Okay. All right. So now we are going to have the results, and these results are belonging to the class data dash address. That is the reason the object type we have specified as data dash address. Okay, so this list, which this locations which are coming, so it belongs to the class data dash address. So this list is completely, you can see on save, you can actions, and you can check before you are calling this data page in your section rule. You can check by clicking on actions and run, and you have this option to verify before you are using it. Okay, now click on run. Okay, so there is something like validations are failing here because state is already defined with some other states. Like I think this is property should not be used, so I can use something else, pycd. Some validations are triggering there. All right, now again I will run it. All right, so you can see under this data page you have px results 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can see the pycds are coming over here. All right, so there are 4 locations which are coming now. Now I can straight away use this data page in my section. So I can go back to my section where I want to use the data page d underscore locations. Okay, so I'm just using this data page, and I'm going to specify the property by city. Okay, so here I'm just using this data page, okay, which is coming as a list, and inside this whatever the source which I'm using, so that will be used for display purpose, and the same source I'm going to use it to capture in my property. So here whatever the option which I'm going to select it, locations preferred. Okay, so this is the list which is going to create, and whatever the values that you select over here, so that will be stored inside this. Okay, so this way I'm going to use it and using for search, as well as I'm going to save it whenever you are selecting it. Let's declare the data page here. Also, it is expecting me to give the data page. Okay, I think this. Okay, I got it. So basically, what we need to define here is under the pages and classes, we need to tell to the system that d underscore locations dot px results belongs to the class data dash address. So that is what it is expecting. Okay, so d underscore locations also I will be defining it belongs to the class code Pega list. So the pages which are independent, so all these are the pages which are independently existing in the clipboard. Okay, so in order to tell to the system that this page belongs to this class, so I need to specifically define under the pages and classes to use that particular page in my sections. Okay, so in order to utilize it, I'm going to define under the pages and classes, then I can use it. All right, so this way I'm going to specify it, and now I can use this d underscore locations. Okay, and now let's see py city. Okay, and just I'm going to display only city. All right, and here locations prefer submit. All right, so now I'm going to capture the values under this locations preferred. Okay, so now this initially what you'll see is the locations preferred will be blank. Okay, so the locations preferred will be empty. Okay, so this locations preferred is empty, whereas these are the values which are shown to the user. Okay, so out of these four, once I select one after another, those will be coming in and adding into this. So locations preferred will be keeps on adding one after another which you are selecting. Okay, so let's see how it works in the UI. So let's continue and let's refresh here itself. Okay, so now you can see the locations are preferred, so I can specify here. So as and when I type something here, I can use this option. Okay, so similarly I can select the Pune, Bangalore, Chennai. So Hyderabad is not appearing here. Okay, so the list is automatically reducing the one which is already selected here. Okay, so this is something like multi-selection. So you are selecting two options. You have selected two options now. Okay, and now that you move to the next screen, so what happens is it is automatically going to update in the clipboard. If you go to the clipboard, you can see on the clipboard the py work page appears, and under this py work page, once you expand, you can see the list called locations preferred. Py work page dot. Let me see the data page where I think it is stored in the data page. If so, it should be stored here itself. Locations preferred. D underscore. I think this is not the right one. This is because it is coming in the pop-up, right? Whenever it is coming in the pop-up, you can see open portal underscore user portal. In this way it will be. Okay, so whenever you are trying to see something in the pop-up, you need to select the thread which is this one. Okay, so this is the one where it will store py work page dot locations preferred. Okay, so here you can see the one which is selected, Hyderabad as well as Bangalore. So only two values are selected. So those are the ones which you can see here, Hyderabad and Bangalore. So in this way, you can use this multi selections to select multiple values. Okay, so whereas you can see the other two values. So ideally, there are four results, right? So those four results which we have created in a data page by using the source as data transform. So these are the four locations which are defined. So now where exactly you will see this d underscore locations? You can see under the data pages category. So there are multiple categories of the pages. So one is user pages, that you see py work page comes under this user page. Okay, and the data page which you see, that is comes under the data page category. Okay, and there's something like scope which you have in the data page which we haven't discussed. So this is the scope which you need to see under this data pages category. So this is the thread level scope. So you can see under the thread level the d underscore locations is there. Okay, so here you can see the px results are appearing, and there are four results which you can see here. Okay, so px results 1, 2, 3, 4. So all these are the ones which are available under the data page category, under the scope thread. Under this you can see the name of the data page followed by the px results. Okay, so this is the one which is responsible to display the options below, and the above one is the one which you have configured in your section, the property where it has to capture. This is the one. So both should be the list type. Okay, so multi-select list is expecting the input which you are taking where you are capturing it, that is also a list. The input which you need to display for the end users, so that is also a list. Okay, so here we have discussed about the data page rule where we are setting that list and then we are using it. All right, any questions?
Yeah. No.
Okay, I hope you are good. I think we can stop here.
Yep, sure.
Sure. Yeah, I think that makes sense so far.
Yeah. So we'll discuss more towards the data transforms and data pages still. So there are still yet to be discussed more on those areas. But since we are covering the sections right now, so whatever required, I'm just going only through that options. Okay. So we are going to go and discuss in detail for those rules separately when we come into that particular area. But right now, the options that we are discussing so far on the sections, so whatever required, I'm just going on those options as of now. Okay. So there are basically there is a dependency with one another. Okay, so because there are certain rules which we need to discuss and then come back over here, and then we can discuss more on it. Okay, so always there's a bit dependency between the one rule to another rule. So for that reason, so I need to go and come back again to that rule again. Okay, so that is how the way it is. Okay. All right. So
Yep.
with that, we'll take a pause here and resume tomorrow.